In this video, we are going to create the skeleton and decoration of our website. So first of all, let's go to our Fi FTP and go to the websites folder and create a new folder there for our new website and call it Social APIs. Okay, so let's open this folder and create a new folder inside or a new file inside and call it index.php. Okay, now since we're going to be using Bootstrap, let's get a Bootstrap template from the Bootstrap website. So let's go to getting started, and if you scroll down, you can get the templates from there. Okay, now let's open our file using brackets. And paste the template in there. Okay, let's change the title to Social Networks APIs. Now we'll need to place the Bootstrap folders and files inside our folder. Okay, we can get them quickly from the Bootstrap chapter. Okay, here they are. So CSS, fonts, and JavaScript. And let's click on the arrow to upload them to the server. Okay, now let's copy the directory and open the page on our browser. Okay, now we can see the templates. Now let's add a background image to our website. So you can use the pixabay.com website as we've done before. And once you find a nice picture like that, you can just open Fi FTP and drag the picture in the project folder. Okay. Now let's go back to our file and create a style element in the head element. Okay, and to add the picture, let's go to the body elements and use the background property. So we're gonna use the URL function as we've done before, and we're gonna set that to the name of our picture, which is in my case balloons.jpg. And let's center the picture horizontally and vertically, and let's fix it so that if we scroll up or down, it doesn't move. And then let's set the background size to cover so that we make the picture fit the width of the screen. Okay. And also let's make all the elements inside the body centered by setting the text align property to center. Okay. Let's save and refresh. And now we can see our background image. Now let's change the font family of the body. So we're going to use Arvo. Okay. So we can set the font family attribute or property to Arvo, and as a fallback, let's go to serif. Okay, and we'll need to use the Google Fonts link because this is a Google Fonts family. And let's look for Arvo. There it is. we can copy the link from there and paste it in the head element. Okay, now let's save and refresh. Now we can see the new font family. Okay, now let's move to the heading and create a Jumbotron, and inside it create a heading and a paragraph. Okay, so let's delete these comments and let's empty the body for now. So we're going to create a Jumbotron, which is a div of class Jumbotron. And inside the Jumbotron, we're going to have a container or div of class container or container fluid. Okay. And then let's place our heading and paragraph. Okay, let's just copy the text from there. That's the heading and that's the paragraph. Okay. Now let's add some styling. Okay, let's refresh the page first. Okay. So first of all, let's take out the gray color from our Jumbotron, which is the standard color. So we're going to access the Jumbotron using the Jumbotron class. And we're going to set the background color to transparent. Okay. All right. Now let's add some letter spacing for the heading. So you're going to access the Jumbotron class first and then the heading. And we're going to use the letter spacing property. And let's set that to 2.5 pixels. Okay. Now let's move to the subscription form. Okay. So you're going to create a horizontal form as we're going to be allocating a certain number of columns for each input. So we are still inside the Jumbotron and we're going to be creating a form using the form tag. Okay. And I'm going to give it a class form horizontal. Okay, so let's start with the first input. So each input is going to be inside a form group. So that's going to be a div of class form group. Okay. And inside the form group, we're going to use another div this time as we're using a horizontal form. So we are going to use the column XS classes, okay, so that we allocate 8 columns for the email inputs. So first of all, we are going to skip 2 columns and then use 8 columns. Okay, so we're going to use 2 classes here. So the first one is going to be column XS offset 2, as we are skipping 2 columns. And the second one is going to be column XS8, as we're using 8 columns for the inputs. Okay, then we're going to place our inputs inside. So the type of our input is email. And let's give it an ID. Email, also a placeholder, your email, and it will need a class form control. Okay, so all the inputs are going to have a class form control. All right, now let's move to the second input. So again, we're going to create a div of class form group, and inside the div we're going to have another div. So this time we're going to use two classes. So for the button, we are going to skip 3 columns and use 6 columns. Okay, so that's going to be column XS offset 3 to skip 3 columns, and the next one is column XS 6 to use 6 columns for the inputs. So let's create the inputs inside the div. Okay, so this one is of type submit. And let's give it also an ID, submit, and to place some text there, let's give it a value, subscribe. Okay, and to style it, we're going to give it a class button. Okay, and to get this blue color, we're going to need button info. Okay, so let's save this and refresh. Okay, that's perfect. Now let's make the button slightly bigger. So we're going to use the class button large. Okay. We need a minus sign there after offset. Okay, and now we've got our subscribe form. Okay. Now let's just add some gap between the form and the text above. Okay. So let's go to the style elements. Let's access the form using the form horizontal class. And let's add a margin top of 50 pixels. Okay, that looks better. Now let's move to the Facebook, Google Plus, and Twitter buttons. So what we're gonna do, we are going to create a row where we're gonna place these buttons. So we're gonna use 2 columns for each button. Okay, and we're gonna do that for small devices, so that in extra small devices they get stacked like this. Okay, let's create our row, just following the form. So that's going to be a div of class row. Okay, and then inside the div we're going to have a div for each of the buttons. So first of all, we are going to skip 3 columns. Then we're going to use 2 columns for Facebook, 2 for Google Plus, and then 2 for Twitter. And we're going to have 3 columns left out of the 12 columns of the Bootstrap grid system. And we're going to do that for small devices, which is going to work in small devices and beyond that. And in extra small devices, the elements are going to be stacked like this. So for the first element, we are going to use the class column SM offset 3, okay, to skip 3 columns, and then we're going to use 2 columns by using the column SM2 class. Okay, and then inside this div, we are going to place our Facebook button. Now for the next 2 divs, we're going to do the same thing, but without the offset class. Okay. So the first one is going to be the Facebook button. Then the next one going to be the Google Plus button, and then the Twitter or tweet button. And right after this row, we're going to have a div where we're going to place our Twitter timeline. Okay. Okay, let's save this and refresh. Okay, well, at the moment, we're not going to see anything because our divs are empty. So in the next video, we are going to create our Facebook like and share buttons.